Hi everyone and welcome back to the Organized Notebook. In this video, we would like to show you how to build a second brain with Notion. So if you're not familiar with the term second brain, it refers to a system or concept where you put ideas, thoughts, knowledge, anything you find into a central location or sort of a database. And Notion is actually perfect for this because it has so much flexibility and you can pretty much put anything you want into a Notion page. So it's really good for storing information and organizing it. So let's get started. First thing you'll want to do is open an empty Notion page and let's title it Second Brain Notion Template. And let's go ahead and do small text full width. This is what we like to do to have as much space as possible on a Notion page. So this is just a really good trick in general. So we put those both on. And then let's choose a cover photo. And for this, let's go with something minimal. Maybe this one. Great. So now let's go with empty page and let's walk through what kinds of information is going to go onto this Notion page. So for this second brain Notion template, we're going to make two databases that are going to relate to each other. So the main database we need is going to be the second brain database where we're going to store all the information that we find or our own information into one place. So let's go ahead and type /database. And let's go with inline. And we immediately get a table, which is what we want. So let's name this second brain database. And we are going to hide the title just because it looks better by going here. So layout and then show database title, but toggle it off. And now we kind of have a clean layout. So what are we going to want in terms of properties for this second brain database? So obviously we're going to need the name or title of what's going to go in here and maybe type. So instead of tags, we'll change this to type. So here we can add things like what kind of thing we put in here. So is it a web article? Then you can create this type web article. Is it a book? Is it an idea? Is it a movie? Is it an academic journal? And so forth. So you can pretty much put whatever you want in this type. And of course, this is also quite optional. This is only so that you can sort of tag your each entry into this database and also be able to sort it later. So yeah, this is type. And then, so after name type, we probably want to have a date that we added it. So let's put date by clicking the plus sign, and then you'll go to these property selections and then you go to date. And maybe date we put a bit further closer to the name. And then we need a URL in case it's a web article or some kind of thing from the internet. So let's put URL. And then so URL, type, date, name. And then the most important is that we're going to add a property which is going to relate to another database. And that database is going to contain all the categories. So let's say you are looking for information about Notion, then you want to store this information inside a category called Notion. So let's go ahead and make another database here by typing /database. And for this database, we actually want gallery view so that it looks most like a sort of buttons. And let's go with new database. And we're going to title this categories. And for the layout, we're going to click the three buttons, go to layout, and then we're going to hide the database title first. Then we are going to change the card preview to none. And then the card size medium is, I think, okay. So this is what it's going to look like. And each of these are going to contain your category later. So let's actually go ahead and name this Notion. So if this was one of your categories, it would be Notion. And delete these. And now we have Notion. Actually, let's also even add an icon for this because Notion just released Notion icons. So we can add here a little Notion cube thing. And now it looks kind of like a button. So next, we are going to relate this database to the categories. So for that, we're going to click the plus button here. And we are going to click relation. And we want to relate it to the categories. And when you click there, it's going to ask you if you want a limit. So if you can put many categories into one or not. And I think no limit is fine in this case. And whether or not you want to show this on categories, which we don't need to do. So let's add relation. And now we have categories here. So if you click in here, you should see Notion as a category option, which links to this category page. So now let's just reorganize this a bit into how we want the end result to look like. So we're going to have these gallery view buttons on the left hand side, and then we're going to have this table of second brain resources on the right side. So for that, we're going to press enter here and then slash column. And let's do 2 columns. And we're going to put this table on the right hand side. And we're going to put this gallery view on the left hand side. So it starts looking more and more like a button. And if we click here and drag, we can sort of make this left side into your categories and then this side into just a big database of all your entries. So let's actually rename this now. And we go to the 3 dots and rename, and let's call this categories. And let's call this table second brain database. Or actually, maybe we can rename it second brain. So it's a bit shorter, looks a bit nicer. So yeah, now you have the basic framework of this database. And now let's actually go to this left side, and we're going to make default database templates so that whenever you click new, you're gonna get a default template that is exactly what you're gonna want. So for that, we actually need to fill this part in first. So let's say we have Notion resource here, and we have a category for Notion. So just so that we have one thing in here so that we can show it there. And now we're going to click this button here and plus new template. So this is going to be a category template. And let's just check the properties that this database has and whether we need it or not. So we don't really need this created date for our needs. So we're going to delete this. We don't really need tags. So we're going to delete this as well. And now what we want to do is actually show all of these entries filtered by this category type in here. So for that, we're going to type slash database, linked view of database, linked view of database. And then we have to click the second brain database over here. And now we actually see this database that we had over here. So it's basically just the linked view in here. But the thing that now what we can do is to filter it by the category. So we click filter, filter by category, and then we choose category template. So whatever title you put here is going to filter it by in the linked view. So let's click category template and save for everyone. So now we have a basic template for how we want each category to look like. So you can click back and let's set that as the default template. So click here and set as default for all views and categories. And now let's delete these placeholders here. And we can click here into Notion. And so now we have to click here because we actually already made the page in advance. But if we make a new page, it's gonna automatically give you the category template. So if we go to category template, now it's gonna show us the linked view of the database categorized by category. So now something that we notice is that this category doesn't really need to be here because we already know that everything that's in here should be Notion categories. So let's actually go back and we can go to the category template, edit, and we're going to hide the category here. So then we go to properties and then we are going to hide categories. So now we don't see the categories because it should be obvious that it's filtered by the category and it looks cleaner. So you can go back now. And now if we delete this, actually need to delete this view and we go to category template. Now we don't have any category linked here that we can see because it's hidden automatically by the template. Great, so now you have the basics of a Second Brain Notion template, and we can add a few more categories just so that we can see what happens. So let's put plus new, and let's say we are trying to gather information here on programming, and we can add an icon. And let's say we also want another category, which is going to be graphic design. And let's choose an icon for that. Here. And yeah, I think 3 is good just for an example. And you'll notice now that it automatically pulls up this database that's filtered from the right-hand side. Great. So now what we can do is to start adding things in here. So let's say we have a Notion resource today. The type is a book and we don't have a URL. And actually one more thing we should add is a summary. So you can summarize your database entries. So let's put a text type property and name it summary. And let's put it a bit closer to here so you can see that. Then when you open it, you'll see their summary URL. So now if you click into this Notion button here, you should also see the same thing reflected here. So it's working properly. And we highly recommend you to create the category first before you start adding them here, because otherwise it gets a bit complicated if you start adding the category from here. So make sure to add the categories here and then you link it here. So now when you click here, you should see the list of options that you already made on this side. Great. So the next thing we want to show you is how to use the web clipper, because this is sort of where it shines best. So if we go to Chrome browser, so this is our website and we recently wrote about Notion's new formulas 2.0, so we can actually clip this into our second brain in the Notion category. So all you need to do is get the Chrome extension, put it in the Chrome browser, and we'll leave the link to this below. And you just click the Notion icon, and then you have to choose the correct database to add it to. So in this case, we are trying to put it into the second brain database. So it's right here. So make sure to find the correct database, click it, and then save page. So now if we go back to Notion, it's here. And it's not going to add anything else besides the URL and the name. So you do have to sort of fill it in yourself after that. So in this case, it's the 15th, and we don't have a summary. It's a web article, and the category is Notion. And if we open it up, you'll see that it actually went ahead and copied everything down. So this is really useful that you can just get everything in Notion's block text and even the picture. So alternatively, what you can do when you add resources is to click plus new and open, and then let's say you have the same, you wanted to add the same resource. So Notion formula 2.0, the type is a web article, and then you would just fill everything in like this. And the URL you can get from here. And then if you are doing this manually, you have to, well, it's a good option to do an embed. So you can go /embed, and you can basically embed anything you want. So we just paste the link in, embed link, and you'll see that now you can see the article in this embed format. And so it's a little bit, in a sense, like you can see the web page clear in this, but compared to the web clipper, it's not gonna copy and paste the whole text in a really nice way like this. So we really recommend web clipper, but of course, if you want to enter things manually, or if you have a book or something like that, of course, you should use it in the manual method. But either way, now we should have 3 things in the Notion category. So let's check. And there's 3 things in here. So now something we want to show you is that you can actually sort things by date. So you can go to the sort button here, and then you can click date and save for everyone. So this way you can see the resources or anything that you want to put in here based off of date. And the same thing you can do in the categories. So this one doesn't have date, so you could sort it by alphabetical and save for everyone. And the next thing we wanted to show you is the benefit of having these tags. So let's say that you wanted to see your resources based off of what type it is rather than the category or the date. Then you can click on this tab using control. So control click, and then you can click duplicate. So that's going to duplicate the view here, and you're going to order this by type. So view by type. And then you can go here to the filter and filter by type. And let's say you wanted to see only web articles. Save for everyone. And actually, in this case, you should put next to it web articles, so it's clear what you are sorting by. So now you only see web articles. And then a more sort of advanced method you could do is, let's say we duplicate this. and we take off the filter. So we take off the filter. And you wanted to see things by type, but just grouped by type. Actually, let's also rename this so it's not confusing. So now this is grouped by web article using filter. And then now here, you can actually use these 3 dots here, and then this thing called group, and you can group by type. And now you'll see all your types, and then everything is categorized by each type. So this is also useful if you just want like a huge view of everything that's separated by type. So there's a lot you can do with the way that you organize your data, which is the beauty of Notion. So, but the first step is just to put everything into the Second Brain database and to categorize it. So we'll dive into more advanced concepts in terms of how to sort your data, filter your data, group your data, and all sorts of things. But for now, we'll leave this finished version of this template in the link in the description below. And let us know if you have any questions, comments, or if any of this was confusing. And we hope to see you in the next one.